I've been longing to record this for several months now, and it takes just a few months for everything to change. I've been wondering whether to record this as a stream of consciousness. Worrying about how exposed that would make me, I've settled on writing first and recording once all the edges have been curved off. There are 3 parts, written at different times but recorded in the same sitting. Part 1. Where do I begin? Where do I go from here? What will happen next? Do I have any control over anything anymore? So many questions have filled my mind these past few months. Almost all of them are unanswerable. I was so grateful that on my birthday this year, the plan was to install the show alongside Vanessa Winship, and before I hit my 30th year. I didn't think that would be a statement I'd ever be able to say, and it turns out it still isn't. We'd both been commissioned to make work on the West Coast by Signal Film and Media. I was travelling up to Barrow on the Friday, staying in Manchester for a few days before making up to Barrow for install. Everything was escalating. The country was going into lockdown. On the Saturday, I got a call from Lauren, the director of Signal. The show had been postponed. The future felt very dark, and to some extent, it still does. Everything was falling apart, but I still wanted to make new work. For the entire 3 months, I felt like I was stumbling around making this new work, which I wasn't even sure would hold any significance for the future. That's always the worry, though. Whether the work will mean anything, whether it will be good enough, whether I will be good enough. I had travelled up to Barrow with the cameras I intended to use while installing the West Coast show. Keen to photograph the show and the people during that time, it felt monumental and I wanted to record it. I also assumed I'd be taking photos of Barrow too. I was curious to see how I would respond to the environment without the pressure of it being work for a commission. Now the work for the commission was completed. Whether it would be better, worse, different. I still plan to do this when the show happens, but now it will feel very different simply because of the world we live in. I feel fortunate that I still want to make new work. I still want to see what this new world looks like and how this feeds into the work, but I am still worried. I had travelled with my Yashica. The Hasselblad is broken once again, so that's shelved possibly forever. I don't feel like I can trust it anymore. I also took my 35mm camera. This was more for the inside install photographs simply to record. It turns out during lockdown, I barely picked up the Yashica. I turned to my 35mm, started using a different type of film, even using flash almost constantly. It was a test, a trial run. I half regret using such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity as a lockdown to make work in a different way. I sometimes think, even this early on, that maybe I should have stayed safe. I should have continued in the way I felt comfortable. I try not to think about that too much. I think about it less when I look at the work I actually made. It doesn't feel like a mistake when I see it. One of my wishes during lockdown was that I had been close to water. I also wished I could have seen more sky. The landscape is very different to the landscape of home. There is more sky at home, less houses on the horizon, almost no houses on the horizon, but there is still no water at home either. In Manchester, my main focus was Ava and trees. Looking through the work, it jumps from one to the other. There's not much else. Some self-portraits, but they mostly feel self-indulgent. The photographs of Ava are much more interesting. What next? I guess no one really knows. It unsettles me that I have no idea when I'll be able to get back into the darkroom. No idea when I'll be able to see this work in print. That's one of my bigger worries. I guess I should be grateful that my worry isn't more significant, but I guess everything is relative. I should feel fortunate that I had something to work towards, that I had work I wanted to make, that I found a reason to keep going, to keep my voice alive. It allowed me not to dwell on the losses, life being put on hold, feeling like months of life have been lost. Reading and writing helped keep my mind alive. I also entertain the notion of trying colour again. Even thinking about it now makes me wish I had, but when I see work I've made in colour, I sometimes wish it existed in black and white. However, when I see my work in black and white, I never once wish it was in colour. Before lockdown, I read the book Sátántangó. Naturally, with all this time we'd been given, I decided to invest in the 7-hour-long film of the same name. This gave me more fuel to the black and white fire. Once I'd finished it, it made me realise I don't want to make colour work again, at least not for a considerable amount of time. At the same time, the film made me feel like my work isn't good enough. I appreciate it when I see visual work that I feel puts mine several steps behind. It only makes me want to be better. I still see moments in my mind from that film now as I write this. Isn't that what work should do? If it's strong enough, it should cause an imprint on someone's mind and never leave them. That's what Sátántangó has done for me. Part 2. Moving forward. I know I need to. I've resisted picking up my cameras since I've returned from Manchester. I think part of me is scared. Another part of me felt the need to readjust all over again, just as Manchester became quite comfortable and safe. Now I'm back to feeling possibly more isolated than I was during lockdown. Summer 2020 has forced me to reevaluate everything. It has also allowed me to remember the constant photography has always been. From the beginning, I've depended on photography. It's been my salvation through everything. I think of the chapters of my life, of the work I've created, of the photographs I've printed and store away in boxes, collecting years and years of my life and others' lives entwined within mine. I sometimes wonder why, and sometimes I don't have the answer, but it never stops me. It's so compulsive and reactive. It seems to be a fluid process, one in which I feel like I'm swimming in. I sometimes worry I'll get it wrong. I'm not sure what I think I'm going to get wrong. Maybe the wrong moment, the wrong exposure, using the wrong film or camera. But the worry is never enough to make me stop. I never want to stop. When I get to the darkroom, I'm reassured that this is right. This process is the right one for me. It's so quiet often, just a movement between chemicals and the enlarger. It feels poetic thinking about it. I sometimes worry the work isn't going to be good enough. Before scanning or before printing, I worry. Somehow this doesn't stop me either. I just keep on collecting photographs. I rarely look at old work. I find it difficult to delve into the past. I find it difficult to be reminded of the people, of moments. Even of childhood photographs, which aren't even photographs taken by me, make me feel conflicted. I think it's a conflict about time, of it running out, or of not feeling like I have enough. Not being able to stop it. I worry about the next step, the next photographs all the time. Will they be better? What will they be? Will I move on to become a stronger photographer, and what happens if I don't? Then I imagine where I'm going to be next. I can see the people, and I can see the light, and I can almost imagine the photographs I would take. It might be that I don't take the photograph I imagine myself to take in the future, but there is some hope that the image I hold in my mind is a strong one, a serene one, one in which will stand the test of time. Being in the darkroom makes me feel capable. To some extent, it feels like a power and a reassurance of the right path. My memory often falters. It doesn't tend to remember things at all sometimes, important things. But sometimes there are flashes of a time or a place or a person which falls into the space behind my eyes. I feel like my photographs do the same thing. There is a fluidity, there is also a jump from one to the other. I've never found it productive to work in sets of series. I've found it enriching to collect as much as I can from what is in front of me, and to hope that it holds significance for the viewer. It is only as an adult that I look for that positive reinforcement from others, to hope that the work is needed. As a younger person, I was making work of anything and everything around me, no matter how much I got in people's way, no matter how much it annoyed them, no matter if no one cared to look at the photographs. As I've gotten older, I've worried more. I think that's because I've been fortunate enough to have hope thrown my way, chances people have given me. There's a pressure I like, but a definite pressure I've put on myself to succeed beyond my own expectations. It keeps me moving forward. It allows me to keep collecting, to keep looking. Part 3. I feel like I'm finally on the other side of something. Photography might not be the only constant or guarantee for me. The one other guarantee could be that everything will always change, and I shouldn't see this as a negative. As I get older, change seems so inevitable.